Silthara the Sevenfold regarded the human with something approaching fascination. In 4 centuries of studying the behavioral patterns of intelligent life, she had never encountered a species that consistently defied categorization. But this young male was asking for specific examples of his own species' dangerous unpredictability with the enthusiasm of a research student. "Very well," she said, her 7 appendages moving into a configuration that Professor Zektar recognized as demonstration mode. His 4 arms immediately began reaching for the emergency protocols. "Let me show you what I mean." Without warning, Silthara moved. Her form blurred between solid matter and shadow as she phase-shifted across the lecture hall in less than a heartbeat. One moment, she was standing near the podium. The next, she was directly behind Marcus, 7 deadly appendages positioned at precisely the angles required to end his life in 17 different ways simultaneously. The remaining students screamed. Professor Zektar triggered every emergency alert in the university's system. Blast shields began slamming down across the windows as security drones converged on the lecture hall from across the campus. Marcus twisted around in his seat to look at the assassin looming over him and said, "Oh, wow, that was incredible. How do you manage the energy transition so smoothly? The theoretical models all suggest there should be a lag time of at least 0.3 seconds between molecular states." Silthara froze. In her centuries of killing, she had used this exact maneuver to eliminate beings across hundreds of worlds. The sudden appearance of imminent death behind them typically caused complete nervous system shutdown in most species. Even trained soldiers usually manage nothing more than involuntary biological functions when faced with her 7 points of ending formation. But the human had just complemented her technique. "You are not afraid," she whispered, her voice carrying undertones of genuine bewilderment. "Should I be?" Marcus asked, craning his neck to try to get a better look at the appendage positioning. "I mean, this is obviously a demonstration. If you wanted me dead, I'd already be dead. But this positioning is fascinating. You've got coverage of every major vital system simultaneously while maintaining perfect balance for immediate relocation. It's like a masterclass in tactical geometry." "Human," Silthara said, her deadly appendages trembling slightly. "I could kill you right now. Instantly. In ways so precise that medical science would struggle to determine the exact cause of death." "Well, yes," Marcus agreed cheerfully. "But you won't." "How can you be so certain?" Marcus twisted around more fully, apparently unbothered by the fact that several weapons capable of cutting through battleship armor were inches from his vital organs. "Because you're not a mindless killer. You're a professional. And right now, you're conducting an educational demonstration about the unpredictability of human behavior." He paused, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "Oh, I get it. This is the example. You're showing me how other species react to mortal threat versus how I'm reacting." "That's brilliant. Experiential learning rather than just theoretical discussion." Silthara slowly withdrew her appendages, her form solidifying as she processed this response. "In 400 years of killing, you are the first being to treat imminent death as a learning opportunity." "Well, it is, isn't it?" Marcus pulled out his tablet and began taking notes again. "I mean, how often do you get to experience perfect killing technique from the target's perspective? This is like getting to see a master artist's brushwork from inside the painting." Professor Zektar's compound eyes were clicking so rapidly, they sounded like an old data processor overheating. The security alerts were reaching crescendo levels as response teams prepared to storm the lecture hall. The remaining students had achieved new levels of terror-induced paralysis. "You studied my work," Silthara continued, moving back around to face Marcus directly. "But did you study why I kill? The philosophical motivations?" "Not extensively," Marcus admitted. "Most of my research focused on methodology rather than ideology. Though I did read about your early training on Nexus Prime." The shadow disciplines focus on perfection through elimination of imperfection, right? It's like applied evolutionary pressure at the individual level. You understand the principles behind my development. Well, the basics anyway. Constant challenge, adaptation, improvement through adversity. It's actually not that different from human educational theory, just with much higher stakes and a more permanent grading system. Silthara's form began shifting again, but this time towards something that might almost be called excitement. Show me. Show you what? Show me this human adaptation. This learning through danger that makes your species so problematic. Marcus looked puzzled. I'm not sure what you mean, I'm just a student. Exactly. Silthara's 7 appendages began weaving through the air in patterns that seemed to bend light around them. You are an untrained civilian. You have no combat experience, no weapons, no special abilities, and yet you treat the galaxy's most feared assassin as an interesting academic subject. She gestured toward the other students, most of whom were now showing signs of advanced shock. Every other species in this room is responding appropriately to the presence of death, fear, flight preparation, submission displays, social clustering for protection. These are rational responses to mortal threat. But you're not actually threatening us, Marcus pointed out. That is irrelevant. I am capable of threatening you. The mere presence of that capability triggers survival responses in every intelligent species. Except yours. Marcus considered this. So you're saying humans are weird because we don't automatically assume the worst-case scenario? I am saying humans are dangerous because you treat worst-case scenarios as learning opportunities. The blast doors to the lecture hall suddenly exploded inward as the university's emergency response team stormed in. 12 heavily armed security officers in full combat armor took positions around the room, weapons trained on Silthara. Their leader, a massive granite warrior named Commander Boulder, stepped forward with his weapon charging. "Master Assassin!" he rumbled in a voice like grinding stone. "Step away from the student. You are in violation of campus safety protocols." Silthara turned to face the security team, her appendages automatically shifting into combat readiness. 12 trained warriors in military-grade armor, armed with weapons capable of stopping a battlecruiser. A complex tactical situation requiring split-second analysis of multiple threat vectors. "Oh, this is perfect," Marcus said excitedly, jumping up from his seat. "Commander Boulder, don't shoot." This is exactly what she was talking about. Every weapon in the room swiveled toward the human as he moved between the security team and the galaxy's most dangerous assassin. "Mr. Chen," Commander Boulder said urgently, "get away from the target immediately. We have clear shots." "But that's exactly the point," Marcus said, turning to address both the security team and Silthara. "Look at this situation. Everyone else sees a threat to be eliminated or a problem to be solved through violence. But what if we're approaching this all wrong?" He gestured enthusiastically between the two opposing forces. "Silthara, you've got tactical superiority in close quarters, but you're outnumbered and outgunned. Commander Boulder, you've got superior firepower and numbers, but you're in an enclosed space with civilian casualties potential, and you're facing someone who specializes in exactly this type of scenario." "Human," Silthara said, her voice carrying warning undertones. "You are placing yourself in unnecessary danger." "Am I? Or am I changing the parameters of the engagement?" Marcus looked genuinely excited by the tactical puzzle. "See, everyone's thinking about this as a combat scenario, but it's not. It's a communication breakdown." He turned to Commander Boulder. "Sir, what's your primary objective here?" "Protect the students and neutralize the threat," Boulder replied automatically. "And Silthara, what's your objective?" "To conduct an educational demonstration as requested by your academic institution." Marcus spread his arms wide. "See? Completely compatible objectives. The only conflict is based on assumptions and miscommunication. Nobody actually wants to fight here." Commander Boulder's weapon began lowering slightly. The Master Assassin is here for educational purposes? Absolutely, Marcus confirmed. She's been demonstrating advanced tactical concepts and comparative psychology. It's been incredibly informative. But the emergency alerts triggered automatically when I initiated the demonstration protocols, Silthera admitted, her combat posture relaxing slightly. A safety feature I was not informed about. Marcus turned back to the assassin. And this is what you meant about human adaptation, isn't it? Instead of just reacting to the immediate threat scenario, we try to understand the underlying systems and motivations. We look for solutions that transform the problem rather than just responding to it. Most species see a conflict between a predator and security forces and prepare for violence, Silthera said, her 7 appendages shifting into neutral positions. You see a coordination problem and work toward collaboration. Because violence should be a last resort, not a first response, Marcus said simply. There's almost always a better solution if you're willing to look for it. Commander Boulder slowly lowered his weapon entirely. Stand down, he ordered his team. Resume standard patrol protocols. As the security team filed out, Marcus turned back to Silthara with academic enthusiasm renewed. So is that what makes humans problematic? We don't fit neatly into predator or prey categories because we keep trying to change the rules of the game. Precisely. Silthara's form had solidified completely now, taking on an almost conversational posture. Most species adapt to their environment. Humans adapt their environment to themselves. Most species respond to threats according to predetermined patterns. Humans treat threats as puzzles to be solved. She gestured toward the other students, who were slowly beginning to recover from their terror-induced paralysis. Every other species in this room saw my presence as a binary situation. Threat or non-threat, safe or unsafe, fight or flee. You saw an opportunity for learning and growth. That's not necessarily better, Marcus pointed out. Sometimes the traditional responses are exactly what's needed. Sometimes threats really are threats, and the correct response is to run or fight. But sometimes, Silthara said, threats can become teachers, problems can become opportunities, enemies can become allies, and sometimes the most dangerous response to danger is not to fear it, but to try to understand it. Professor Zektar, who had been frantically trying to restore order to his classroom, finally found his voice again. So what you're saying is that humans are dangerous because they're curious? Not just curious, Silthera replied. Adaptively curious. They don't just want to know about things that could kill them. They want to learn from them, work with them, and if possible, make them better. She looked at Marcus with something that might have been professional respect. In 4 centuries of killing, I have never encountered a species that consistently treats professional assassins as potential graduate school advisors. Marcus grinned. Well, when you put it that way, I can see how that would be problematic for someone in your line of work. Indeed, Silthera agreed. How does one intimidate a species that responds to intimidation with academic interest? How does one threaten beings who treat threats as learning opportunities? How does one fight enemies who keep trying to turn conflicts into collaborations? You don't, Marcus said thoughtfully. You adapt. You learn. You find new ways to approach problems. He paused. You evolve. Yes, Silthera said, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy's most feared assassin smiled. That is exactly what humans force you to do. They make everything else evolve just by being themselves. As the lecture hall slowly returned to normal, Marcus realized that he had just learned the most important lesson of his academic career. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is simply refuse to be afraid of learning something new. And sometimes the most powerful weapon against any enemy is the simple act of treating them like a person instead of a threat. The demonstration was over, but Marcus suspected his real education was just beginning.